Hello and welcome to Baseplate Reviews.
Okay, so we're right at the start of 2024 and I thought I may as well build the biggest set I'm likely to build this year in the very first week of the year in the Natural History Museum, the latest in the Modular Buildings collection. I actually don't have either of the two previous modulars, which are shown on the back of the box here, and that is the Jazz Club and the Boutique Hotel. They didn't really do anything for me personally. I'm sure they're great sets, but as it stands, they just weren't something that I wanted to put into the Lego City just over there. Again, if you saw my video the other day, the city is very much under construction. Nothing is exactly where it's supposed to be. It's been a long move over from the UK to Canada, and there's lots to be sorted. I've got the Natural History Museum here to build, plus I've got an assembly square which is completely demolished and ready to be rebuilt. So I think I'll build this and then that will come afterwards, and we'll do a bit of a comparison on the sizes as well. Anyway, let me get to building and I'll be back to review the set.
I've speeded up the time lapse here so it only lasts about a minute and a half, but if you do just want to skip to the review part of this video, just jump to about 3 minutes in. The build for the museum is pretty substantial, taking around 7+ hours in my opinion. In terms of the build, there was very little that was particularly innovative as far as I was concerned. For a modular, I was actually a little surprised at how kind of straightforward it was. That's not a problem for me whatsoever. I of course enjoy the building aspect, but the final product is my main concern for any LEGO set. I know some people get a real kick out of things like the fact there are some bones in the foundations of the museum during the build process, but again, I couldn't care less really. If it keeps the designer's muse though, let them go for it. As ever, because it's a modular, that means no stickers, so anything you see, such as signs and the like, are prints. Although I would say that the prints there are a little underwhelming, such as the sign above the door saying museum. It's about as understated as it could be. There are though 2 great vinyl pieces representing the banners advertising the space and dinosaur exhibits within the museum. These are really typical of the sorts of banners you'd see at a real museum, and I think the vinyl was a good choice to go with for these. In terms of the interior of the museum, I'd say it's good, not great, with maybe a few less things going on than in other modular sets, such as the police station with its little stories, or something like Assembly Square with its breadth of different professions. On the ground floor there's a suggestion of a broken pot, which I did like, and on the other side of the ground floor you have the dinosaur skeleton that reaches up through the next level as well. The skeleton is done pretty well, I think it's on par for sure. There's the suggestion of maybe a large ammonite fossil, and a saber-toothed tiger skull, and some dinosaur eggs too. They're all just fine. The entranceway is decent, with a little museum shop indicated, and I think that's good. But the space behind that isn't all that great, with a small toilet and a tiny lab area that has a door leading to it from the dinosaur exhibit internally, and another door leading out the back. It's basically a tiny cupboard, and I'm unsure why it would have a door leading to the outside. The next level has the space exhibit, and I think the best display in the set with the orrery of the solar system. This is some really cool stuff, and I much prefer this bold and original build to the mini LEGO set builds underneath the helmets in the right hand side section with the minifigure headgear. Underneath these headgear are apparently mini builds of classic LEGO sets, Black Sea's Barracuda, Forest Men's Hideout, and the classic Yellow Castle sets. I know they like to do these, but I don't think a natural history museum is the correct setting at all. We could have had some stuffed animals or something like that instead, which I would have much preferred. Moving to the roof, and I think this rounds off the exterior of the set nicely, as long as you look at it from the front at least. In the dome of the roof there is a small study for the curator of the museum, and a door into the ground which leads to the internal stairs. I don't like this being where the curator would be, and I think the space on the ground floor where the toilet and the tiny little lab are could have been a better choice for this. This space could still have been used for something. Maybe a caretaker could have kept his pigeons here or something. So whilst I think the interiors are just okay, I do quite like the exterior look of this, and that's probably the most important thing when displaying in a city layout. I have zero problems with the colour, but then maybe if I already had the Parisian Cafe, I might be olive greened out. The columns seem appropriate and imposing and lead up to that decorative facade on the roof. The two statues either side of the entrance are perfunctory yet effective, and I like the black spiked railing in front of them. There are a couple of steps leading up to the entrance, which is definitely appropriate. In real life there'd likely be more, but that would be tricky with these modulars as you'd end up with levels below the entrance. I really like the tree, but there is a but. I like it in and of itself, but I'd really rather it wasn't with this set, as I think it basically blocks one of those lovely vinyl banner pieces. It should be easy enough to remove and relocate elsewhere in the city. That is the beauty of LEGO, of course. With regards to minifigures, we'll start with the museum workers, and their uniform is really nice. It's unique to the set and just right. They both have alternate faces, suggesting something has gone wrong. Maybe that French bulldog has stolen a bone, or they've just discovered that smashed exhibit. The curator torso is another unique piece. He's a pretty stereotypical curator, but it's a nice minifigure and again comes with an alternate face print. This is the only unique headpiece in the set out of the 7 minifigures. The patrons of the museum, though, are just very mid indeed. A wondrous look on the boy's face doesn't reflect that we've had his torso in 5 other sets and his mother's torso in 10 other sets. I've already got 2 other figures with the prosthetic limbs, so getting that wasn't a bonus for me. But apparently this part is only in 2 other sets, so that might be a good one for you. Again, they both have the alternate face prints, which are just fine. The older lady minifigure is again just fine, with an alternate face print suggesting she's maybe enjoying eating her cookie. The window washer guy doesn't have an alternate face print, which is fine, as he only has a hat rather than a hairpiece. He's resolutely okay as a minifigure, but again, nothing close to special. All in all, I'd say the minifigure selection is pretty weak for a modular. I do like those 2 uniformed workers though. In terms of animals, we get that French bulldog, which has apparently only been in 2 other sets, one of which was a 4+ vet van rescue set, and the other being the Queer Eye loft set. I'm not sure either of those are essential, so good to get this dog here. Other than that, we get 2 small white birds, which are placed on the set as pecking at a drop cookie. These can easily be placed elsewhere in the set, and are nice to get. Maybe that's the overall theme of this modular, it's fine. I really like the size and scale of it, and think as a museum modular needed to be at this base plate and a half scale. It feels somewhat larger than Assembly Square, and that's because it's just the one building, whereas Assembly Square felt like it had much more going on because of all the disparate elements that came together cohesively. This was a standard build, it has relatively standard displays inside with the usual, very much anticipated and expected nods to LEGO's past. They're now so expected that they are basically a trope. Some designers appear to be a little more self-indulgent than others, though this is far from the worst example I've seen. The exterior is the best bit of the set. I like the window cleaning rig at the left hand side, but maybe I have a soft spot for that because I like the Friends Community Centre set so much, and that one also has one. Although in that set it's being used to do an art piece rather than window cleaning. It's also probably a better one than the one here, it must be noted. Overall, I'm relatively satisfied with the set. I was probably expecting to like it more with it being the biggest modular along with Assembly Square, but if I park my previous expectations, I think it's just about on par. It's certainly not the best modular, but I think it will make a great addition to nearly every modular-based city. And this works better than most modulars as a standalone display set, if that's what you prefer. Anyone who buys this without having any other modulars or a city at all would be very pleased, I'm sure. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that review. Have you got this modular or thinking about getting it? Do you love it or loathe it? Do you agree with my thoughts on it or think I don't know what I'm talking about at all? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing. The interactions are much appreciated. Bye bye.